Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In this video I just want to talk about a few words about governance in the cloud, and especially some of the building blocks that you can use to create your security boundaries in Microsoft Azure. Okay, what are the building blocks? How you can think about securing your cloud? And what I'll try to do, I'm trying to give you overview so you understand what are the different building blocks, and let you kind of do your own research in some of those topics, and then I'll show you the security center. I don't have a whole lot, but I'll at least show you how to integrate the security center for your own benefit. Okay, if you like the content, hit the like button now and then continue. All right. So if you think about the governance, okay, when you move to the cloud, your governance, whatever you have for enterprise in an on-prem environment, you don't want to lose any of that. You typically would like to take all of it to the cloud. The reason I say a lot of time that you don't want to lose, although there will be some things that you have to understand the shared security model for sure. How much of the security that you don't need to worry about now, that is going to be the cloud provider's responsibility. But just because it's cloud provider's responsibility, you don't think that they are always going to do the base job. So you have to do your due diligence. You gotta review the compliance reports that your cloud providers are providing. You gotta look at their audit report, their security standards, what kind of security standards are their data centers are meeting. All of that due diligence you still have to do. But in general, you would think that the data center and management of the data center, running of those equipments, it's no longer your responsibility. Now, depending on whether you are deploying a SAAS, a PAAS, or a IAAS model, your requirement for your own security, how much you are going to own, is going to change. Okay, so one thing that I want you all to be aware of, there is a Microsoft Trust Center where Microsoft publishes all of their audit reports and compliance reports. So that would be a good place to go and kind of review that time to time. And with Microsoft governance, you can meet various type of requirements, be it compliance requirements, privacy requirements, transparency regulations. Okay, and when we think about the cloud governance, okay, typically you will definitely think about RBAC, but some other things like business continuity, security, auditing, monitoring, they will be part of your overall governance structure. Okay, so two main thing again. So as a consumer of the cloud, you gotta have your consumer governance. As the cloud provider, you gotta do your own due diligence, make sure your provider is compliant all the time. Now, this is one of the slides that I really like. This is where I give you the building blocks. Okay, and I kind of think about all those blocks as my security boundaries. Okay, for most of them, like tenants, you can separate out each tenant. If you have 5 different tenants, your tenant itself creates a security boundary. Now, within one tenant, if you have say 3 subscriptions, you can create your own security boundary between those 3 subscriptions if you like. Within these subscriptions, okay, if you have resource groups, you can be intelligent, okay, and create the resource group in a way they are secured in different fashion. So again, you are creating security boundary if you like. Then at the resource level, you can apply specific security rules and specific configurations to make your resources highly secure. Again, management group you would use to group whole bunch of subscriptions to manage it properly and even uniformly apply policies, okay, and governance policies you will apply, and they will trickle down to all the subscriptions that belong to one particular management group. Now, typically, once you have whole bunch of policies, you would like to group them in initiatives and apply those initiatives to one management group. That management group will eventually apply all the policies to all of the subscriptions that are children to this particular management group. Now there is a new concept that Azure is now providing is the blueprint. For a while it was in a preview. You should take a look at that. It's probably in a public release mode now, or should be very soon. This one allows not only just policies, but it would allow you to group your roles, your policies, and say key vaults and naming conventions, all whole bunch of stuff, and that you can use to create the blueprint. And now once you have that, you can use the blueprint for multiple other subscriptions. Okay. Now, RBAC, we already know that's a role-based access control, and there are three major role-based access control that you can apply to subscriptions level, to a management group level, to resource group level, or even to individual resource. And owner, contributor, and reader. Okay, those are the three main. There are many other types. Owner means you have pretty much all the controls, and you can assign permissions to other people. If you are a contributor, then you can only do stuff, most of it, but you cannot assign or revoke permissions for other people. And reader, it's pretty much what it means. You can read everything, but you can't really do any kind of privilege type actions. Now, ARM template, we still consider this as a building block for your governance. So if you want your team to follow a particular type deployment following your defined rules and regulations, criteria, parameters, you can create several ARM templates. Say for virtual machine you have one, for Cosmos DB you have one, for Synapse Analytics you have one, and then you lead the various teams to use those templates instead of going through the portal, and you use the DevOps pipeline and just call those ARM templates and use your deployment via those templates. Okay. Now resource lock is another thing that you can have a read lock and a delete lock, two different kind of lock that you can assign to resource groups, and that will another way to protect your resources. Tagging and naming standards, I also consider this as a governance because tagging will help you to quickly figure out, what particular type of application, what particular business unit they're using. So help you kind of do your analysis for cost. And naming conventions is very important. So it will definitely going to help you figuring out what type of resource you are looking at, maybe from a big spreadsheet. Okay. And the other thing, that if you're using a particular like automation in your whole development process, if you follow a particular naming convention, you can automate a lot of different processes. So this is also important. All right, so tenant, we already know tenant is the top level. Tenant is actually free, so you can actually go and create your tenant. And one customer may have multiple tenants. So if you think about Azure as the outer space, you can have 1, 2, 3. In large enterprise, you may have multiple tenants that are connected to each other. Now the policies and initiatives, you cannot like apply to a root tenant or something. That just does not gonna work. So if you come up with a uniform management group level policies or root policies, so you have to apply to this tenant, then again same policies to the next tenant, and the same policies to the next tenant. Just know that there is, at this time, there is not like one time you apply and it will be applied to all tenants. It's just not gonna work. But this is the idea of tenant. But if you want to create security boundaries, one set of policies here, and a set of policies here, and a set of policies here, you can do that. Okay, so subscriptions are part of the tenant. So say in one tenant, we can have subscription 1, subscription 2, and subscription 3. In one subscription, again, you can create this as security boundaries. Say for subscription 1, you want to allow infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service, all three types of deployments. In the second subscription, maybe you only want to allow IAAS and PAAS, and the third one, you want to allow IAAS and SAAS, so you can do that. Okay, so you can create as many subscriptions as you like under one tenant. So management group, I kind of talked about, they are used to group multiple subscriptions in one Azure AD tenant. They're very helpful developing logical business structure. So typically they will be like your development team, they might use one. Or if you have your business in multiple countries, maybe in the US you have one management group, and all the different business units in the US region, they will have one root management group. Then maybe in Europe they have another management group. So you can do it multiple different ways, but this is a good way to logically group your businesses. Now, typically you will have a root management group, and that group cannot be deleted. It's particularly useful to implement governance policies and initiatives. As I said, if you have, say, a development management group and you want to do your development work there, you may be a little bit lenient on policies there, but in a production environment, you may be very, very restrictive. Initiative applies at the root level will be inherited by the child management groups. Subscriptions and resource group and resources. We already talked about that one as well. We can have up to almost 10,000 management groups, and you must be tenant admin to access the root management group. Few things to note. Resource group, you probably most familiar with. Anytime you deploy Azure resource, it is required. It's a logical way to group resources in Azure. And RBAC can be applied to the resource group level as well. And all child resources, they are going to inherit the permissions. Now, policies we also talked about, they allow the enforcement of rules and standards for an organization. They're very, very useful for governance. Azure provides a very good support for built-in policies. There are probably like 500 or more built-in policies at the moment. And these policies can be scoped at a management group, a subscription, or even you can be granular to a resource group level. You can create your own categories and names for the policies instead of using the default name that's coming from Azure. Like you can say, you can name the policies like enforce, and when it's in an audit mode, you can say audited and then add a name of the policy. And for the security center policy, typically you will see the policies are prefixed with ASC. When you go to the security center, we'll know about that. Again, for the policies, you can do exclusions. If you want some resource group or subscription, you don't want to apply policies, you can do that too. Policy location is important. You want to store your policies to as high up level as possible. So store it close to the root management group. So you can typically apply the policies anywhere that is below the root management group. If you apply to the bottom, you cannot apply the same policy to the root. But if you apply to the top, then the policies can be applied anywhere at the bottom. Now, policy, typically you will see some policies will need parameters, and they will have parameters, policy name, description, and then policy rule. And then you will see effects like deny effects, then audit effect, things like that. You have logical operators, conditions, and different fields. Creating policy in ETS is pretty simple. You will go to either to policy or go to the security center, and then you can create a new policy and just add a whole bunch of policies in them. Azure, normally every policy or initiative, they will be evaluated every 24 hours. If you have a new resource deployment that within 15 minutes of assignment, typically you will have one initial assessment done. And new policy initiative applied to scope, it may take up to 30 minutes before you can start seeing any results. So I'll talk about that a little bit more when I look at the security center. As I said, initiatives, it's used for a number of policies. Even though it's recommended that if you have only one policy at the moment, you still create one initiative and apply it to your resource group or subscription, wherever you want to apply. Just thinking ahead, because in the future you may need to add a couple more policies. Now you are not assigning each policies multiple times. You are only dealing with one initiative, so your management will be very effective that way. Then RBAC we also talked about. It's a role-based access control. that is used to control authorized use for Azure. And the roles can be edited, custom made roles can be created. So read some more about how you can use the custom roles to provide permissions in your Azure environment, and especially always follow the rules of least privilege when you are creating roles. Blueprint, we also talked about this one. This one typically it can be used to plan for the management group subscriptions. You can group initiatives, policies, RBAC, ARM templates, all of it together. Naming convention we talked about, and tags we talked about as well. So as I told you in the beginning, each component that we looked at, they can be viewed as a security boundary, like tenant, management group, subscription, resource group. Tenant registration should be linked to a corporate credit card and not the credit card of a person. Okay, rules must be reviewed. Principal least privilege, we just talked about, that must be followed. And for complete separation between the prod and non-prod environment, two different Azure AD tenant can be created. Again, it's just one way to think how to divide your security boundaries. So planning for the governance, plan for logical grouping of subscriptions. Okay, and then think about your PAAS and SAAS. What kind of policies that you need? What is the lifecycle management for the policies? What kind of licensing do you need when you are deploying resources in your Azure environment? Few things, like if you want to restrict locations because you may have a data restriction, GDPR, European countries, they have their own, China maybe they have their own data restriction. Restrict SKUs from cost perspective, so you can do a lot. Okay, so here I have a link where you can go and you can follow this guideline to create a demo for Azure AD if you like. As I said, this one is actually free, so you don't have to do too much about it. And scaffolding I'm not going to talk about in this video today, but what I'm going to do now is the most exciting part of this video. So now you have a little bit of idea of what I'm talking about. So this is my Azure subscription, okay, that I'm using right now. So I wanted to show you the security center, okay, and just give you a brief overview of what it is. So security center is really the central place that everyone should be using. Okay, so if you just go there and search for security center, it should show up. Okay, security center, so you just click on it and you get to this overview blade. Okay, so over here what you first see that you may have multiple subscriptions, so you click on it. Okay, if you have multiple subscriptions, they will show up in here. Okay, and you just select the subscriptions that you want to view the data for, and you can I have only one subscription, so I don't have to do anything like that. So at the top it's giving me some numbers. I have only one subscription right now. I don't have too many resources, only 15 resources they're assessed, and I got 57 active recommendations, and right now I don't have any security alerts. Security score used to be a number like 1000, 1500, something like that, but the problem was as you deploy more resources, your numbers keep increasing. Although you're fixing stuff, your number would go up. Then you deploy some stuff, the number would go up again. So that created problems. So Azure changed that, and now it's a percentage. So, and this you can get up to 100% when you have no problem at all. And this score is coming from the Azure Security Center. Okay, so here it's saying we have 13 unhealthy resources, and we can harden these resources and improve my score following the security recommendation. So you can click right in here, improve your security score, and it will take you to this page where it's going to tell you, okay, here is the subscription, here's the unhealthy resources, 15 is the total number of resources. I mean, 2 resources are pretty good. So you just click on it and you go to this view, and you go through all of these different things. Pretty much whenever it's red, that means you have an opportunity to improve stuff. So like over here, management port should be closed, management ports of the virtual machine should be should be closed. So if you don't see the whole text, just click on it. Should be protected with a just-in-time network access control. Okay, let's just go back to the security center and just review other blades before we come back. So you can also implement regulatory compliance. Okay, so the number of regulatory compliance you have, it could vary and it could depend on your own requirement, and I'll show you how to do that. Insight is again another way, another place. Most prevalent recommendation, the most important one, they're saying the storage account should use a private link connection, so you don't expose your storage account to the internet. Okay. The next one we have audit diagnostic settings, so you enable auditing for those. Then storage account should restrict network access using virtual network rules. So all of them are good, very good suggestions. And then over here they're also showing controls with the highest potential increase. So if you do this secure management ports, then your score will go up by 14%. If you apply the system updates, your score is going to go up by 11%, and if you remediate your vulnerabilities, your score is going to go up by 11% as well. Now, Azure Defender is another thing, which is looking at your traffic, and if there is any security alert, it will show up here. Probably your DDoS type alerts will also show up here. Firewall Manager is something new that I haven't dealt with too much, but something that you should pay attention. And if there is a need to use the Firewall Manager, you can use this to protect your network with the Firewall Manager, Central Network Security Management Service, to configure and manage firewall policies across subscription and tenants. So that might be useful. Okay. So that's kind of the overview. Now, getting started, one thing that you have to do, typically the free version of the security center is automatically enabled, but you do need to upgrade. So I have already upgraded that. So if you come over here, click on upgrade, there will be a big upgrade button down here. Just click on it. It's gonna enable the Azure Defender, the security center, the beta version. For 30 days free trial, and after that you do have to pay money for using different services. Okay. And you can go over here, install agents. So this one, you also enable this one. So what I did, if you enable this one, it will install agents automatically. The log analytics agent will be automatically installed on virtual machines and selected subscription, so you don't have to worry about it anymore. But if you want to do manually, then it just become manual. You can do that, but I would recommend to use this one. Just automatically deploy whatever you need, so the security center is working and always getting the logs and everything it needs. Now we went to recommendation from a different, from the overview blade. You can also go from here, and over here again, here MFA should be enabled, which I have, so that's green. That's very good. Management ports, as I said, we have only one. Internet facing virtual machine should be protected with NSG, so I have that one, but I don't have the other two. Okay. So you just go through this, and here Azure is actually already prioritizing which one you should be doing first. Okay, so it's telling you this will give you 14% increase in your score, and some others their recommendation are that's already done. So all of them are green, so there is no points to gain. Anywhere there is a red, like here, there must be storage account public access should be disallowed. So there must be one healthy resource where I have done that, but I have two other resources where the public access is enabled. So you can go and try to fix some of that stuff. And what I want to show, there are some items they will have a fix me button. I don't know if we have any of those type of issues in here. Doesn't look like I have any of these type of issues. Some of the issues you will see that when it show up, they will have a little fix me button, and you can click on it to fix the problem. Okay. Security alerts, as I said, I don't have any at the moment. You may have some. If you go to the inventory, it's going to tell you how many resources are total in there, how many are unhealthy, and how many unmonitored. So that is something to pay attention to. If you look at, there are some subscriptions that you are not monitoring, or some resources you are not monitoring, you should pay attention to. A lot of the times your monitoring agent, they will have problem, and they will not report back properly, and those resources will typically show up in here as unmonitored resources. Or maybe you have a new subscription where you have not enabled your security center, they will show up over here as subscriptions that are not integrated with the Azure Security Center. So pay attention to these numbers. Now workbooks, here you can do various different things, especially for automation. We are not going to do this at the moment, but you can look at the workbook. Like there's a empty workbook and how you can work on it, and I think there may be some example ones in here as well. Vulnerability assessment findings, so you can click on this one. Right over here, there is no data at the moment. Okay, no unhealthy container registers found. So there are some workbooks that are predefined, and you can use this to create your and over here, this is a new thing, that secure score over time. So this one looks like it can give you, you just select your workspace for the last 30 days. If you want to see how your secure score is changing, so you can use this. So I was hoping that it's going to give you some kind of a graph, but it has not. But it will probably populate. I don't have enough data to show us anything. Okay, so play with this one. This is a new thing, pretty recent. I have not used this too much, but something I'll also look at. Community, you can look at the community. You have a whole bunch of videos. You have learning opportunities about the security center. Secure score we looked at. Right now I'm at 35. If I do some corrections, then my score should go up. Again, the same. Another thing I didn't tell you, you can download this report, the CSV report, and the report actually got more stuff in it than what you see here, and it may look a little confusing. Here, for example, let me just make it a little bit big. You have resource type, resource name, and then you have a recommendation name, and then remediation steps. That steps are very detailed. So if you want to do how to fix, want to know how to fix it, this would be a really good place to come as well. This also gives you a rating for each of the findings, whether it's a medium, low, or high. And it also gives you state, whether they are healthy or unhealthy. So you can assign a filter, find all the unhealthy, then another filter for the severity, find the high, fix them, then go to medium, go to the low. Okay, so that's another good thing that we learned. And then comes the regulatory compliance. So once you come here, okay, so there is Azure security benchmark is typically applied automatically. And also Azure CIS, either it's typically automatically applied, or you can assign very, very quickly. I have assigned all these, but you really don't have to do too much to implement security policies for ISO 27001, PCI DSS 3.2.1, SOC, HIPAA, high trust, or anything else. For example, okay, so if I want to add more policies, okay, so we can do manage compliant policies most likely. So go to the subscription where I want, and you see the ASC is the default, the security center default policy, okay, and then what you want to do is the industry and regulatory compliance. So I have enabled a whole bunch. If I want to add even more, I just have to click on add more standards. Say I want maybe CMMC level 3. All I need to do is click add, and then tell, okay, where do I need to apply. So here's the Azure response, here's the subscription where I want to apply this, right? And then just if you want, I can do some description, make sure that it's enabled, and then just hit create. And sometimes you need to provide some parameters, okay? So here you have to do some parameters, like here list of usernames that must be excluded. So I'm just going to provide something, list of users that must be included, Then log analytics workspace ID, so WSPID, and then just make sure that everything is tick mark in green, and you should be good. But don't do it so quickly. Just go through and make sure that they all meet your own requirements, and then apply the policy. But that's about it. Okay. So and just I have a new policy that's I just added CMMC level 3. Now this one will take at least 30 minutes to show up in our regulatory compliance. So if I'm here, okay, so you see in this bar is still not showing the CMMC that we just applied. It takes at least 30 minutes to show up. And what it is also over here is showing you, this is like highlighted and you see this blue underline. That means this is now showing our compliance with this Azure security benchmark. So when it's red, network security, it does not mean every single components of the network security is a failure. So you expand this one, you see there is one green. So it's telling me deploy intrusion detection, intrusion prevention system. So this one is okay, but the other 4, they're failure. Similarly, if you have one green, so you have in this one is good. It's all of them, they are green, but notice that there's some there in gray. Gray simply means at this time this control cannot be automated, or this control is something that is a process related and you just cannot do that. Other thing that I want you guys to pay attention to is once you expand this, that C means it's a customer responsibility. Okay, so you just click on C, it completely says all of them, the customer responsibility. And so over here, every single one is like marked with C. So let's see if there's any, if it's a like this one. This one says discovery, classify, and label sensitive data, and it's a responsibility that lies both Microsoft and the consumer. So if you click on this one, but this one typically the whatever is your responsibility that is going to show up. So something to just here is something that I wanted to show you, that quick fix, a lot of the policies they have a really nice quick fix button. Typically what will happen, so once you click on that particular policy, usually the quick fix button would work and you will be able to click on the button to quickly fix the problem and immediately see that your score is going up. So that's about it for the security benchmarks. If I go to ISO, if you have so what looks like what they're doing, they're onboarding the new ISO 27001 2013. We can change that and import that new one. But again, the thing that I want to show you again, they have a different types of classification. But what is really happening? Your policies are already set, and those policies are being remapped to different compliance standards. I don't think they're actually applying a whole bunch of new policies when you are moving from one regulatory compliance to another. They have all internal mapping. Okay, one control from here actually maps to some control in PCI, some control in SOC. And once you enable the Azure Security Benchmark and Azure CIS, you have a whole bunch of controls. They will satisfy the requirements for all 4 of them regulatory controls. Okay, some new controls might be added once you enable this regulatory compliance, but most of them, they are kind of remapping of those policies that are already part of the Azure Security Benchmark and Azure CIS into this different regulatory standard. Again, the other thing that you can do from here, you can expand in that view. If you don't like, if you want to see everything, you can click expand, so it will expand all of it for you. Okay, so like you can go through and look at what is failing, what is not failing, what can be can be governed using the Azure Security Center, what cannot, like how many are passing, all of that stuff you can see in this particular view. You can also download the report So here in the CSV format, so you can report, download the report for, say, your compliance report for the high trust or PCI DSS or ISO 27001. Just click on download, and just like the security center policies, you have something very detailed report that you can use and use for audits, anything like that. So we have covered that one as well. Let's see what else. Unsaved edits, okay, that's fine. Okay, as you defender, we already talked about it. All you need to do is just enable this one. Over here you have some if you have alerts, okay, then it will show up here saying that it's fully covering everything, and we have 8 different resources that are being monitored at the moment: 2 key vaults, 1 server, 3 storage, 1 DNS subscription, and 1 resource manager subscription. Okay. Firewall Manager, I told you, that's a new feature that I have not used. You can use it to manage your policies so that it can scale. Now, pricing and setting is something that you pay attention to, because in your when the Azure Defender, which is the paid version of the Security Center, if it's off, then you only get this to continuous assessment and security recommendation and Azure score. You don't get the just-in-time VM access. You don't get adaptive application controls and network hardening. You don't get any of the regulatory compliance that we looked at. You don't get threat protection for Azure virtual machines and non-Azure servers. And for PAAS services, you don't get threat protection. So it is very important that you understand your need, and I would highly recommend that you use the Defender on, because it's a built-in solution from Azure, and it just built for Azure. So use it. And over here they have the pricing. One thing to notice that you have a server, one server, $15 a month. It's $15 if that server is running 24/7 for the whole month. So if the server is not running, maybe it's only ran few days a month, so that $15 would not be the cost. So think through that these numbers are the worst case numbers for a month, but typically since you will be using and you'll be cost optimizing your Azure resources, probably you'll be paying less. But if you still, you should need to pay attention to how the cost is going to affect your own environment, and go from there. So over here you can have auto provisioning, we kind of looked at. Enable all extensions. You can do Microsoft dependency agent, that's in a preview mode. I can enable that one. Policy add-on for Kubernetes, let's add it as well. So now I have enabled all extensions, so that is important. Email notification, okay, this one, if you want to send email, I can add those emails over here. Threat protection, you should always enable the Microsoft Cloud App Security to access my data. Well, this one, you pay some attention and make sure that you understand, go through these links and enable this one. Again, you can do some workflow automation, and cloud connectors is something that you can also set up. Okay, right now I don't have any, but you can connect your AWS account or your Google Cloud platform and use Azure Security Center to even manage those cloud resources as well. And also remember, you can also do the same thing with the on-prem. You can deploy the Microsoft agent, monitoring agent, to your on-prem environment as well. So security policies, we talked a lot about this one already. So this one actually come as a separate service, although you can also do the same thing with this blade. So all you need to do, say Azure, this is the only subscription I have. If I want, I can create a custom initiative. Okay, say I can create a new initiative called we have to first assign the location. So right now I only have one subscription, so I have to keep there, and then say new initiative. Okay, you can put some description. You can create a new category, it's a new cat, and then version you put 1.0.0, whatever version you like. And then what you need to do, come over here, policies. You can add policy definitions, and you can add your custom policy, or you can use any of the policies that say I want to just add policies for the vulnerabilities. Okay, so I just look for the vulnerability. I just search for vuln and a whole bunch came up. So I'm just gonna add all the policies because I'm only interested in vulnerability right now. Okay. All right, so that all of the vulnerabilities, 13 policies I just selected. So now I can actually come back and just call vuln initiative. Right, so you can name any way you like. Control, create control. So I have not used this one in particular, so I'm not gonna talk about this one. I have to so this is saying group controls are groups that help you organize policies. So I haven't used this feature, so review this one some more. Initiative parameters is something that you can also use. Policy parameters is by default how do you want the policies to affect, like set value. The default would be audit not exist. You can also use parameters, and if you have initiative parameters from there as well. Okay, so here I'm just going to use audit if not exist. Okay, typically most of the policies they will show up as audit or deploy if not exist, but most of them they are in audit mode. You will see very few policies that are in deny mode by default, but you can definitely go and enforce denial of resource deployment if you want. So now we are ready to create the initiative. So, and here they're saying initiative location. I have to specify one more time. So let's just go select and select. Got it. So review and create. So let's see. No parameters, that's fine. Fail to save. Required property name not found in JSON. So policy parameter. Let me see what is there. So sometimes you have issues where you need to provide some parameters. Okay, so you need to parameter, create initiative parameter. I don't want to do this. Okay, so what I'll do one more time, I'll try to create and I'll try to review. Sometimes this name not found, path properties, policy definition group, line 1, policy 1, the context info cannot be deserialized. Okay, sometimes if that happens, you just have to sometimes like look through what's happening and look for which particular policies actually really needs your name parameter, and that's how you have to solve this problem. Okay, I'm just going to try to do it one more time. It's probably going to fail again, and I'm not going to worry about this. Okay, it says one control. Is it? Do I have any control? I'm going to come back over here real quick. This one does not have any control. It thinks that I have one control. That's weird. Policy is not in control. So what we'll do one last time. So I'm going to cancel this one. Okay, and keep one initiative that is simple. And what I'll do, I'll add a couple of policies that I have used before. Say storage account, say deploy storage account should restrict. All right, so 4 policies I'm going to add, and I'm just going to review and create. Hopefully this one would be a successful one. This initiative has no parameters, and sometimes this gets stuck as well. And this is, I have noticed, sometimes just you have to wait a little bit and then come back and do it. Okay, here it's saying something you have to get and come back. Let's try this one. Now it's working. So now this is successful. So this So now you see that I have one initiative that I just created. It's called a simple initiative. It's not assigned. If I want to add more policies, I'll just go back and add and do the same thing. Go back to policies and add some more policies, parameters, remediation, non-compliance. Over here is the policy. So I can search more policies to add here if I want to. All right, so we did one. Okay, we have, what we have not done is the assignment. So you can do the policy assignments from here. Okay, so if you do from here, I have already shown you how to do the assignment for the regulatory ones. And your custom initiatives, you just do again the custom initiatives, click on that one. Say you want to assign that one, so then you come over here and you say assign, and now you choose the management group or the subscription, and then make sure that it's enabled. Then just review and create, and that policy is now assigned. So if you come back to the security center policies, it will show up in some time. And if you come back to the regulatory compliance, okay, and look at this bar, so you see in this bar we added one initiative, it's not showing up. We just added a custom initiative that is also not here. But in about 30 minutes or so, you will see in this bar you have a new hyperlink for the simple initiatives that we have created. So if you have a completely customized one, this is the place where you would come, review it, and download report, and then give it to your operations teams, like, hey, this is the problem that I see. So I think I have gone over a whole bunch of things. Okay, last thing, maybe just show the policy as a resource itself. So if you go to the policy, here again, you see all of them in here as well. So again, the compliance, all of this that we have assigned. Then remediation, you can see what are the recommendation, what are the failing, and what are the violation, what you can do to fix the problem. Here from the authoring, definitions is where I have all the definitions of those policies. So here, first of all, you can look for the built-in policies. So these are all built-in. So if you see a policy got multiple one, that means this is actually an initiative and not a policy. So you can come back over here, actually choose initiatives. So that will only give you all the initiatives. So see, I show one where I have only one policy, but it's still an initiative where you have only one policy. Okay, so now over here you can also choose just policy. Policies are just policy, so it's not giving you any number. So if you look at there are like hundreds of policies already there, and you can also group them by category. Okay, for app configuration, you have a whole bunch of policies. Then API for FHIR, API management, guest configuration, key vault, machine learning, monitoring, network, SQL, search, security center policies, storage, tags, PMI image builder, so whole bunch. So here you can also create your own policy definition if you want to create a custom one, and I have a video where I have created some custom policies. Please go and take a look at that. And over here you can also manage your exceptions. If you want to exempt maybe a subscription or a resource group, you can create the exceptions in here and manage them. So that's pretty much all I wanted to cover in this particular video. So hopefully this video has been a little bit useful to you. One thing I would recommend that you read up and learn something about resource graph queries, which is really not part of the security governance, but resource graph explorer or resource graph queries. If you come over here, this is a free tool from Azure, and this one also is gonna give you a lot of quick way to look at your count of healthy, unhealthy, and not applicable resources, as your score per subscription if you multiple subscriptions, show as your defender pricing, regulatory compliance assessment steps. So you just click on any of them, the query will come, and then you run the query and you will get the report, and the report will be in a CSV format, and you can download the report from here as well. So hopefully I have given you enough material to start integrating the security center and have fun. Again, if you like the video, please give me a thumbs up, and happy learning. Thank you.